Hello there.
Hello. Welcome to The Blind Spot, our beautiful post show here. Who needs a drink after that last game?
Everyone on Dignitas.
Oh, they've had too much to drink already. What are you talking about? Like, obviously, they got a little bit happy with the first map when, you know, started popping champagne bottles, taking shots.
Never want to order that champagne. No.
After that, they just took infinite shots to the face. 2 layers to that. You think about it. It's 2 layers. Keep thinking. No, listen. Remember in our little segment from Dig where they were talking about like expectations coming in, they had the goal to actually even float the idea they might be winning this tournament. That is the most inappropriate use of the term winning since Charlie Sheen. You understand that?
I understand that. It's a bit of a throwback.
Talk about
A lot more fun to watch Charlie Sheen, though. not even as tragic. You actually watch him and think, you know what? Maybe you can grind a little bit more.
I feel like that's true. However, I will say that the era when that winning statement happened with Charlie Sheen was the 2.5 Men era, which I don't think was very fun to watch. So.
No, true.
Mate, at this point in time, Dig need 2.5 men who can actually play catch. It's outrageous.
Here we go.
Or at least not just to all 5 of them be that guy from the 80s who was in all those John Hughes.
Well,
movies, whoever that.
I mean, when your average
you know
age,
what I'm talking about.
when your average age is 30, then half a man is 15, and A-Core is what, 6? So that's actually true.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that to A-Core.
Wow, you guys are mean today.
Well, Duncan's making John Hughes references to an audience that was born in the late 90s. So
Just saying.
anyways, yeah, that game was absolute trash. That was no fun. The earlier games are good, though.
We finally found out, though, what FNS's master plan is, because somehow he got onto a 3rd map, which, by the way, was actually like the 2nd best of the Dig players when they were online. So the veto looks like he should lose at this point in time. He wins the first match before this without shooting a bullet. He gets to the 3rd map here, he top frags, dominates a bunch of old washed-up players. This was obviously the master plan. This guy's in the final of the group.
Yeah, he set himself up to look like a genius again.
Exactly. Now there's a guy who stays winning. You're going to get tired of winning if you follow FNS. You've got to know that, guys.
Oh boy.
Another great leader I know.
So I have some statements for you guys to react to as we look at the group of assisted living. Well, Thornton's favorite team and my employer, Cloud9, in the finals.
I've got to say, by the way, this is definitely a group where, out of mercy, I would just turn off Dig. I'd be like, and sleep. I want to remember you the way you were. Beautiful, bald, in the finals of the majors, competent at Counter-Strike.
What, just put
Well,
the pillow icon on?
Fortunately, Dignitas, actually, if you Google it, the first search result will give you some interesting analogies, perhaps, to be made.
And somewhere to visit if map 2 of a series like this is just too much for you to handle.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. What? Oh, we're going to bring in FNS. So before I ask
He
you
was probably waiting the whole
questions,
time, manipulating us all.
is FNS actually here? The
Yeah,
all-powerful?
What's that weird Rockefeller symbol he keeps throwing up all the time?
So congrats on your win. That was convincing.
Thank you.
So
How do you keep getting away with this?
Wait, what?
The bullshit you're doing now. You're not supposed to win that map. Dig's actually supposed to be half decent.
I mean, that's a pretty good map for us. We play a lot of Train, a lot of Nuke, and a lot of Inferno. Honestly, we should have won Nuke as well, but I played like shit, so.
Pujan, I have to ask, did you prepare any differently knowing that this was going to be an online series? Because this series versus last week's series, which was on LAN, it was a completely different org list, a completely different FNS, and how you were calling it was so much more aggressive. Was there anything different in your game plan?
Not really. We went into it with a similar game plan, but we just won a lot more pistols and didn't get ecoed on the last 2 maps. We got ecoed on Nuke 3 times, so that's a big problem that we have on our team right now. And if we're able to avoid getting ecoed so much, and a lot of it's my fault, like we haven't gone over that many anti-ecos, and the ones we have gone over, we, like for example on Mirage and Inferno, we were able to win. And Tailored, our coach, our current coach at least, he came up with a lot of good pistols for us on all the maps, and I think we ended up winning all of them, so yeah.
Who is your current coach? Because I know I saw you tweeting out that you were looking for an analyst. How long has your coach been a part of your squad?
2 days. We're just, he's like trying us out, and we're trying him out.
All right.
Yes. But it's tailored. I don't know if you know who the Envy, like
Envy,
the previous
okay.
Envy analyst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he jumped in 2 days ago, and then I went over all the maps with him and stuff like that, and he brought up a lot of good pistols for us. So I think I would attribute our win today a lot to his pistols as well.
So what was your preparation like for the Fun Plus Phoenix match that you didn't actually end up playing? Because I know you tweeted that you were disappointed that you didn't actually get to play against that team.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like a lot of memes and stuff like that, but in general, we really wanted to play that game, mainly because for us as a young team, that's like a lot of good experience, and obviously they would be the overdog or whatever going into that game, you know, so it would have been really good experience for us to be able to play them and maybe even beat them. But yeah, we prepared a lot for those guys. We had like 2 days of worth of prep, and then it just sucked that we didn't end up playing.
To be fair, it's probably for the best, because if they'd have actually lost a real game, they'd have just gone, what do you mean? FPX never had a lineup. And just fade out of existence or something like that. Apparently that was the game plan all along, but you outthought them with the meta game plan, so well
You've had
done.
way too many energy drinks today.
I mean, honestly, they suck, dude. I mean, it sucks for them that they like got screwed over. Like, I don't know what happened. Honestly, I don't know the story behind it, but that sucks because we really did want to play them because that would have been massive experience for us. And in general, I think they're a really, really good team, so it would have been hard.
Who is Who's the your squad? Who's the second
Sorry,
caller?
you're cutting out.
Sorry.
What?
Who is the second voice on your squad? Who's the person that helps you prepare for these series?
Well, right now it's tailored, but Infinite and Sabrosa are also a lot more vocal than a lot of people would think. So in the mid round, they make a lot of good comms as well, like on CT side or T side, like what to molly, what to retake. In the mid round in a 3v3 or something like that, they'll calm their nades. They'll do a really good job of orchestrating the round. So it's not just me. There's a lot of mid rounding going on, unless I'm feeling it. Which on the last 2 maps, I was playing well individually, and for me, if I'm playing well, then I usually end up calling well as well.
Taylor is sick, right? That's who you're referring to there?
No. Tailored is
the coach.
like the.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
he's
Sorry,
the-
I can't hear very well here.
He used to be the analyst for Envy. He was let go like, I don't know, a month ago or something like that when they made that whole lineup change. So he was working with Ely back then, but yeah, now we literally have had him for 2 days and he's doing a good job.
So looking forward to your match versus C9, how confident are you going into the finals of this group?
Pretty confident. I think individually we're pretty good. It's just a matter of if we show up on the day, I think, and that's CS is just like that right now. If you show up on the day, you could beat anybody, I think, and like outside of like the top probably 3 teams in the world. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
You've been in-game leader for a lot of like the old NA lineups going back to like days in CLG and everything like that. Is this the best roster that you've played in? You've played with Tarek, you've played with some of those CLG teams that caused some big upsets at big events. You've made, the semifinals or the quarterfinals of a major at Columbus. Is this the best team that you've been a part of?
Individually, I think this is the most stacked lineup, yeah, because I've never had players like Infinite and Sabrosa who could just like win rounds single-handedly with just rifles.
Yeah.
So I think this group of people, in terms of just pure rifling, is probably the strongest core I've had, and then Wardell being an insane operator just adds on to that. So yeah.
So how do you think you were able to pick up all of these players in terms of a team without any kind of sponsorship? Do you think that's a misstep from other organizations, or?
I mean, no, not really. We haven't proven anything, so there's no reason for teams to just throw their money at us, you know what I mean? But I think in general, I knew Sabrosa really well, and him and I got into contact, and then him and Wardell were a package deal because they're really good friends, and they wanted to play together, so they needed an IGL, so we became a core, and then Infinite just happened to be available, and then Ye was somebody I was looking into even when I was on Riot Squad. And so when I couldn't get those players on that team, I chose to leave that team and then create this one.
Speaking of leaving teams but not out of choice, remember when you were on Cloud9, they kicked you and cut that contract super short, even though you were supposed to be the future of the org. What do you think about playing them in the final? Not a loaded
it's
question.
a whole different lineup, so it doesn't really matter, I think. But yeah, as far as the org is concerned, it'd be nice to win, yeah.
That's just boring, isn't it? Talk shit, come on. Too classy. Well, that's the thing. If you pull all the strings behind the scenes, you can just appear like a good guy on camera, can't you? So.
Okay, I have to ask, I think, kind of a spicy question. It seems like all the players who have been past teammates with Infinite, all they can tell me is that the guy is nuts, but his attitude fucking sucks. So what are you going to do for your squad to make sure that he doesn't leave the squad in 3 months? Because on his past team history, he hasn't been on a team for longer than...
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, he definitely has attitude issues like that. If I were to point out one massive problem, it's his attitude. But a lot of it has to do with the hunger he has to win, I think. And when people are really, really hungry to win, they could, for example, like Simple, right? Like in 2015 or whatever, like everyone hated him, but he changed his ways. And I feel like Gage can do this, or Infinite can do the same thing. So if
Also,
he can
his
turn a
name
new
is
leaf
Gage
and,
Green.
you know, talk to people better and just criticize people better, it's just in the moment, he's very, very aggressive with people. Like, dude, what are you doing? Type of thing, you know? And obviously he just wants to win, you know, but then he has to also realize that everyone else also wants to win, and he just has to improve on that slowly, and I have faith that he will.
He definitely hasn't improved his attitude, though. I saw him literally no respect for his elders, bullying the old, you know. Literally, he's supposed to be kind to people in retirement homes.
Listen, I have to make one correction as well. I fucking love 2015 Simple, so I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
I will say that in general, my experience in esports is that those people don't change. They just eventually find teammates who realize who won't get, you know, offended by them trying to be direct with their feedback. And most of the time, those people can also take very direct feedback themselves. So it's more about finding the right environment rather than changing them.
Yeah, that's why I made
he's gonna have to
Flashpoint.
change on this
Oh, you
team,
weren't talking about
for
me.
sure.
Sorry.
He's definitely gonna have to change his attitude on this team. Like, we don't have people that are just gonna take him shit talking us or like attacking us in any way. So if he does go off the rails and freak out, then he's obviously gonna get told off to not do that. But again, I've seen a lot of change from like last few days or last 3 or 4 days. But like I said, in the moment, he's super like into it and can't really control what he says to people or how he says it, and that's why it's like that's his probably biggest issue. But yeah, he is insane as a player.
So now you guys are all here and practicing together. How much has being in the same place helped you develop over the last couple weeks as a squad?
Oh, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if we were home or here. It helps a lot to have practice in general, yeah, because we didn't have that much practice going into this tournament, like, at all. So it's nice to be able to play these matches versus like legends like Dig and stuff like that, and just it's even more insane to be able to win. But the fact that, you know, we get that experience is, you know, huge for us. So making Flashpoint was everything.
Right, that's it. We don't have any more questions.
No, I got one.
Come on, man. It's better be good, right? Come on. Everyone turn to Jason and watch him, because he's going to give a really amazing question, right?
I have faith. Moses, good.
What do you have on your mind? What's going on here? Come on.
Did
you can say.
you ever? I was just curious because you've been around, as I mentioned, for a long time. You've had a lot of weird situations in your career. Did you ever consider retiring? Do you ever consider just stepping away from the game? Has this been like a battle that you've waged through? And also, what's your favorite color?
Not really. I could see why you would say that, but no, not really. I don't think I've ever maybe it's crept up a couple times, like, oh, maybe it'd be nice to coach and stuff like that, but no, not really. I still have a lot of hunger for the game, so until that goes away, I think I'll keep playing.
Attaboy.
And yeah,
Favorite color?
turquoise is my favorite color.
Purple?
Turquoise. Like
Who
light
picks
blue.
turquoise? I mean, it's not bad.
I'm not even sure I know what that is.
This caught me off guard.
I'll tell you what it would never be. It would never be the color green, because you'll never catch FNS looking envious.
Jesus,
That
dude.
was
He
that was
doesn't
terrible.
stop. He
That was
doesn't
terrible.
stop.
You actually just extended you shaved Moses ending this interview, and then you extended it more with an absolutely terrible joke. Get out of here. All right, thank you FNS for joining us.
you, guys.
I apologize for Thorin. It's really the hallmark of my career at this point in time. So
It's
good
no
luck
problem.
versus C9.
See you guys.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Someone had to provide some entertainment. The last two maps, literally, Dig firing squad, wasn't it?
It wasn't good. It's like they took that approach to Counter-Strike. Like, if no one's traveled back from the future to stop us doing this, then it can't be that bad. And, you know, that still happened. So maybe it can get even worse.
Because the thing is, right, it's one thing if you were already like a journeyman pro, like some player who was just on like OK teams and you just stuck around and you would literally only play because your philosophy is like, it's just my job, it's what I do. The problem is the NIP players were greats of the game. They were literally in all the major finals, they were winning championships. And look what they've become. A Flashpoint 1 team. Whatever.
So
Romantic.
I believe what you mean is a Flashpoint 1 partner team.
Yeah.
We'll discuss what the implications of that are in a minute.
It's not
But-
important who's at the beginning of Flashpoint. It's who's at the end of Flashpoint.
Well, we'll discuss
I've been
that.
told by my management.
Havu versus Mad Lions. Obviously, Mad Lions looking significantly improved today.
Anders?
Havu looking pretty good. Anders,
You're gonna
number
pick
one
against the
Havu
Danes?
fan.
No, not really. I picked Mad Lions to win the whole thing from the beginning. I just picked Havu as the potential dark horse. So I guess it's an interesting scenario.
Did he actually pick Havu as the dark horse?
Yeah, but it was when they had Hunden, so I mean.
No, Mad.
No. We mean like, did he actually before the tournament pick Havu?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the dark
Did he
horse?
really?
I don't remember it, but
To be fair, it would fit in with just
Usually
picking random
I
players.
file
Makes
all
sense.
this
I
shit
know.
away to call people out on later, but I actually don't remember this
to
one.
build on your
Well-
to your segment earlier, Duncan. Every time he opens a statement with "listen," I know there's going to be some hot bullshit coming
Yeah,
out next.
exactly.
So I just zone it. As soon as I hear "listen," my brain shuts off.
Mutes immediately.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a very interesting psychological response that you have.
Listen. We're quarantined together as well. We're spending a lot of time together. We have to learn tactics to make it through.
This is a recipe for madness. So, as we saw there, those are our actual finals matches in each group tomorrow, which is very exciting. So we are going to decide who is the first and second place team in each of our 3 groups. Now, if I had told you coming into Flashpoint 1 that we would have only 3 founding partners in the finals and that the other 3 teams would be Chaos, Havu, and Orglis. By the way, Orglis, who you all panned as the worst team in this tournament. What's your reaction to this scenario right now?
Online. Honestly, one word, online.
It helps.
Yeah.
Do you
I wouldn't
really
even
think
say
it
it.
just boils down to just being online?
I do.
All right.
I
Fair.
100% do.
I appreciate that stance.
I think Dignitas would have shown a completely different side if this was on LAN, just because of that experience coming through. And I think as a competitor, LAN, it's such a huge part of our tournament series. So I do have to give kudos to Orglis for being able to perform online, but it doesn't feel quite as special to me, I think.
No, I mean you can. I think that's entirely fair to say as well because and we've seen a lot of these players, even some of the players in Orglis play on LAN with different teams in the past, and people are just more willing to take risks and play with no pressure. So
Okay. I acknowledge your statements, but I have to remind you that both Chaos and Havu won on LAN before we went online.
yeah, it's not about them just winning one game on LAN. That's great. It's about what you can, how consistent you are, right? Like you can win a game on LAN, but there's no team. It's not there's no team. It's that these squads specifically would not be able, in my mind, to win these groups if it was all on LAN. They're coming through online. They play every day from the comfort of their game center, their home. There's a lack of pressure, and the game style that you play on LAN versus playing with pings online is just very, very different.
I mean, I think even on top of that, right, there's another aspect, which is that, for Dig, for instance, they've all been on massive stages in front of huge crowds.
Yeah.
So I think even playing, in a studio environment is maybe one downgrade from that, but then going to play online, it might be so far removed from what they actually consider to be, high stakes that I think I can imagine, especially sort of like an end of career type play, you feel like, oh, can we really get ourselves psyched up to do this? But I actually think that's such a dangerous attitude to have because right now that's what we're doing, and we obviously all hope it's not going to be that much longer. But if you go on a massive losing streak, even if the first time, like let's say these 2 maps, you tell yourself, oh, it's fine, it's nothing. Like, yeah, but if you do this, 8 more times in a row, all playing online, then that can absolutely, I think, leave permanent damage even to these players. Like, that's a long losing streak to go on. Gotta hope that's not happening.
So now that we are in the old school, I'm not gonna wax nostalgic about this too much, but many of us were around when esports was exactly what it is right now, which
When
is a
Riot
bunch
created
of
it.
when Riot created it.
Don't go there.
Absolutely. When Riot invented esports, actually this was before Riot invented esports, and even in League of Legends in like 2011, 2012, everything was online, and many of us come from a time where everything was played online, and we didn't even have webcams. It was just voices on Winamp. But there is something nostalgic about this era. So in this new unintentional era of online tournament play where we don't have a choice, who is the favorite now? Because we have to revisit that every day because I keep getting told different teams and they keep one by one collapsing.
Well, here's the good news is because so many of the big names haven't even made the final of their group so far, it does mean that in the second phase, they have a fire lit under their ass with the best teams in the tournament coming in have to perform in the next round. They won't be involved.
I mean, here's something mind-bending for you. Like, Mad Lions is the only #1 seed that's even in the top 2. Obviously, Fun Plus Phoenix, imploded.
Unfortunate situation.
But Gen G also, managed to drop out, and we had a lot of the teams that were picked very late on or traded into these groups. Remember, both Chaos and Havu were being bounced around because people thought they were easy opponents in our group selection.
I think actually Havu even have a parallel to the Vanguard team that went to the final of the major, because famously what we found out when they started doing features and interviews with those players was that they'd actually been together for like 2 years with that core, and they'd been in a boot camp house the whole time. So similarly, I think one of the things that's benefiting the Havu guys is they aren't a team with a stand-in or a new lineup or who are just playing like their first. They're a team that have been playing ages together. They haven't been that relevant, but then again, they're actually the team in all this swirling chaos, so we're just holding it together.
Well, we also need to revisit a key point, which we've talked about before, which is that Flashpoint is a tournament that has teams together boot camping in person for multiple weeks, which is very rare in Counter-Strike. So how much is that going to enable some of these teams that haven't had these opportunities before? I mean, FNS didn't really matter to Orglis, but that doesn't mean it doesn't matter to other people.
I think the nice thing that someone like Havu is going to be able to do is, since they've played so many games together coming into this event, when they prepare, it's going to be different, because when they prepare, they get a look at their opposition. They get a look at tendencies of the teams that they're playing against, and specifically make strategies for that kind of player, those maps. If you're an Orglis who just finalized a roster in the week leading up to this event, your preparation and your practice is going to focus within. It's going to focus on your own teams, and I think there's a lot of squads like that have brought in new players who have had to play with a stand-in, where they have to focus on getting someone acclimated to how they want to play their game, rather than being able to actually look at their opponent in any kind of detail.
I mean, just in terms of the online play, we do have some pretty recent parallels. Whenever you get to the sort of qualification stages of the major, and some of those when they were played online, you see what happens to the teams that fall out of the legend circle and then they end up having to requalify, and how devastating. I mean, the NIP lineup itself, when they were still a NIP, had that experience.
I think they failed something like 3 major qualifiers when it was online.
So it isn't just some irrelevant feature of it. And again, like, as much as, of course, it's different playing in front of a crowd than it is playing in your own bedroom, but one of the principal differences surely is the mental game of being able to, like, psych yourself up to play that level of game. And as much as we all, want only LAN games, you can't just discount all of it. And you should have the depth to be able to switch into that mentality at some point. Like, it's not, I don't think it can just be said, oh, it's just a temporary online thing, let's just ignore it. Like, you have to be able to do a little bit more.
We've also talked about how this is, it's kind of a weird scenario, because in a lot of instances, online means you're playing from home with variable levels of ping. In this case, it's not LAN in that you're not here in the Flashpoint studio, but you are in Los Angeles in the same room with the rest of your teammates on 5 ping. So it's sort of a weird hybrid. Like, nothing can replace the mentality of entering a stage and understanding what that means. So I'm not saying like it's equivalent to LAN, but it is at least somewhat different than normal online play.
It is very different than normal. And I think this whole 6-week long, almost like a season 1, phase 1, then phase 2, playing and approaching the games and series like it's a long haul for the whole 6-week duration, and expecting to make it all the way to the finals in the end. It's something that's pretty new for our CSGO competitive scene. So I think how these teams approach their matches week to week will certainly change in phase 2 versus phase 1 as well. So I think we're going to constantly be having these kinds of discussions where every week, every day, we see a different team with different strengths and a different team with different weaknesses. And by the end of it, we should surely have a #1 winner.
She has a point there, because it has been a while since MIBR has been playing for more than 3 days in a row.
Fair enough. So let's talk about our finals tomorrow, which is going to be MIBR versus Chaos. So it's a complicated situation, because Chaos won, but they won with Smooya. Smooya is back in England, and now that was LAN, and now it's online, and Voltage had a good performance. So our Snakes and Ratters group, Chaos MIBR, what are your thoughts before we see the group final tomorrow?
Chaos is actually the only team in the tournament that has yet to lose a map. If they can win this group, and hell, I'll throw in, if they win this group 2-0 and they don't lose a single map, Steele's God at that point in time. Like, he can literally just take anyone and win in Counter-Strike.
That's tragic for him, in a way.
It's his own fault.
I really...
Sort of. Who knew? You could say it's his own fault, but the punishment may not fit the crime. Let's put it that way.
Crime was pretty.
You don't even believe that. You don't
even.
You don't. You don't believe that he should be banned forever.
I mean, listen, if this was Fortnite, he'd be back in 60 days. We need to stop cheating again.
Just about to saw people complaining about that on Twitter.
That was unreal, right?
Anyway, bringing it back. The point is, if you look at the lineup of players he had, and then you even said, oh, by the way, just take Smoothie out of that, nobody would think they even had a chance of winning this group. But they actually have a very legitimate chance to win the group.
Well, now they got to overcome the hurdle of online MIBR.
KNG.
It's fucking wild. It's crazy. Actually, I mean, it's just another one of those situations. It's where I really would love to predict Chaos to win that, but there's no logical reason why they should when you look at the core of MIBR, the pedigree they have, the legacy those players have, and then they've just won the last They've won their last 2 series 2-0 each one of them. You know,
Won an Inferno.
Yeah, they won an Inferno. Everything's turning around. Everything's looking good. I think that's going to be a close series, but I don't think a whole lot of people are going to predict Chaos to win, just because of the name value.
If KNG actually turns up online like he has thus far, MIBR actually should win this match. Like, in theory, they are the team with the better players.
This
way
is
more
where you get to see the discrepancy between online and LAN play, because every
That's
time
true.
you say any kind of statement, you're like, online. Every statement is qualified by the fact that it is online Counter-Strike.
Before we end, I do want to talk about Mad Lions versus Havu a little bit, because people have been praising Havu for the tightness of their T sides, their good strategy, obviously.
Keep going. Just keep going.
No, just fight
Oh,
me.
shit, yeah, your T-sides are so tight, man. Yeah.
Jesus.
That team player is so lubricated.
All right, I thought you actually had an analytic
Those
point.
pulsating, pounding T-sides.
All
Just
right,
keep
all right,
getting
all right,
me.
all right, all
Don't
right.
ever let me... So
I
close.
thought you actually had an analytic point, but instead
No,
you
it's
just have
stupidity
sexual
again. Exactly,
innuendo.
yeah. There's nothing legit coming through there.
Anders,
That was your mistake, thinking I had a legit analytic point at the end.
so back to legitimate analysis. We have this matchup coming tomorrow, and people have been, especially you, high on Havu.
Not nearly as high as Duncan.
Smoking that Havu leaf, roll that shit up real tight. Shit, man, it's a man. I don't know about Havu, man.
I just want you guys to notice that there's no actual cup
Actually,
in front of Thorin,
I
so
don't need any. I was born like this.
at least he finally admits it. Anyway,
It's too late
Mad
to
Lions
fix it
versus
now.
Havu, another group final that's happening tomorrow. How do you guys think it's going to pan out?
I mean, the problem for me is I wish it wouldn't work out this way, because I kind of want Havu to, like, I wanted them to be the dark horse. That kind of was my pick. But I think Mad Lions is the most likely team to win the whole thing, even with Cillian. I mean, they just brought him in, so theoretically they should be on an upwending trend. Like, they've been playing him more and more with him. So I'm still gonna have to stick with Mad Lions. I still think they are more powerful. I love A-Core.
They did lose to
amazing.
Havu.
Yeah, they did, but that was the first time around. Now they've got it all figured out, I'm sure. And like, they look,
figured out?
yeah, they look nothing like themselves in that first match. They were so far removed from anything.
Sure, that's a fair point.
I'm taking Havu to win that just because Mad Lions has to be punished.
Be a Cillian move.
Yeah, if karma existed, how do you explain
Yeah.
Duncan still being around here? Like,
That's a
think
good
about
point.
it.
That's a fair point.
So we know that's not true.
Yeah, but I just honestly, I think Mad Lions is probably the better team, but I really just want them to learn like they have to be punished. That's all I'm going to go back to.
What are you doing? Are you appealing to the universe?
Boomer.
Yeah, I'm begging to anyone, God, please, for the love of Jesus.
He's just a sadist now, not a sadist. A key difference.
Key difference.
Anyway, continue.
I
Continues.
continue with what?
You had a point about Havu versus Mad Lions.
Mad Lions.
I mean,
Or
surely
Focus.
Mad Lions will be able to win that series, but I have to agree with Anders. I do feel slightly bad that Havu's running into Mad Lions here in the final days, especially because it seems like Mad Lions are supercharged and they're the team that's getting exponentially better day by day. But I mean, hopefully Havu takes a map off and makes it a little bit more competitive than this last series we just watched.
One reason I'll give you as to why it could be a pretty competitive series as well is not only have they played before, so both teams in theory have material to work with off each other. They felt in the server what the other person's level of resistance is. But more importantly, the veto that Mad Lions did today, I actually think did hint that they have a lot more weakness in the overall map pool than the old Mad Lions with Hunden, who had a really strong map pool. So actually the Havu guys look like they can play pretty much anything at this point in time. So I'm interested where the veto will go on that one.
Or they said, fuck Hunden's system, we're bringing our own, we're making our own. And
Could be.
yeah, I mean, because it looks like they threw Vertigo out the window, they threw Overpass out the window, and they look like they're trying to build a new identity, and it's working somewhat.
You know what the problem is? I did think that Mad Lions should replace their in-game leader, but the choice they made was a silly one. That's the end of the show. Good night.
Jesus Christ.
Goodbye. All right, we're done.
Hit the button.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow
That's a
for
slow
all of
burner,
our
that
group
one.
finals.
That's not a slow burner. That's a shit burner.
All right, goodbye.
Everyone will be saying it in the